So it's week 2 of Bronco On-The-Go, and last week you guys went...
Is that what we're calling it?
We are calling it Bronco On-The-Go.
On-The-Go.
Bronco-on-the-go.
Okay.
That work? Week 2 of Bronco On-The-Go.
I guess we'll make it work.
It's working now.
Okay.
So for your first game in the oversight role that you took on this year, it seemed to me from when we talked beforehand, when we talked afterward, that it was kind of a different feel, different vibe from you this time around.
I enjoyed it. I was able to encourage more, even though I'm not saying I was demonstrative and all up and down the sideline, but it was fun to be able to just acknowledge different things that were happening without, again, thinking about what the next strategic move was. And I think the players enjoyed that. The coaches certainly did, and I was able to weigh in on a few critical third downs and some special teams things. And so the number of decisions isn't, 80 snaps of defense or 60 snaps with a few offensive things. It's 5 or 6 critical moments of the game. And the trust that the coordinators are really well prepared, and I'm prepared to the level I can aid if needed. And so it worked well for game 1, and hopefully it continues.
So a night on the headset's very different for you nowadays.
Man, way different. And it's more of a mentor and supportive and big picture role, where before it was clearly about the tactical and not quite as able to see how momentum might be shifting, how this decision or call might affect the outcome as much. And so I enjoyed that part.
So even before you get out there, you go through 4 weeks of prep, you think you know what you've got. You think you know what your team is, but you really don't know until you play a game.
You really don't, and you also don't know what the opponent looks like. And so even though you've seen them on film, seeing them in person is something else. And I was very impressed with their defensive front, just looking at them across when they lined up. I was impressed with the size of their linebackers. I was impressed with the stature of their offensive line. And so the reality becomes, this is a capable team that's coached really well. And so where exactly are we from a physical perspective, not only a scheme perspective? And so, yeah, you find out pretty quick.
Probably happens this way every year, but when you go against your own guys for a month, you leave with a certain impression about we're either this or we're that based on how they fare against each other. Then you put a different team out there against them and you see something entirely different. And I think from the offense in particular, you saw early that against somebody not wearing BYU jerseys, these guys clipped it along pretty good here.
They did, and I was really impressed with the start, not only how the offense played, but how Taysom played right from the beginning. And we wanted to start fast, we wanted to score first, we wanted to make them play from behind as soon as possible. And that's exactly what happened. Mission accomplished. Yeah. We did not sustain it in the third quarter. We did finish with a nice drive in the fourth, but when we're capable of executing like we did in the first half throughout the entire game, one of the goals certainly is to score in every quarter, and we did not do that in the third quarter. If that would have happened, I would have felt much better about the outcome.
But you did score first,
yep.
15-play drive to score first, which is also something. I think that 5-minute drives were not the norm for your team last year, and that's how you opened the score.
With some penalties mixed in, so not only did we sustain it for the number of plays, we sustained it through some adversity, where a year ago, adversity usually meant punt. This time, even on the same drive, it could have been 1, 2, or 3 different setbacks, and yet the ball kept moving.
Seemed to me that the only way you were not going to make it into the end zone was going to be from a miscue that wasn't Taysom Hill related. It seems like Taysom did pretty much all the right things that night.
There was one errant throw. If I were to say, okay, Taysom, here's the one thing I would have changed, there was one outcut to the field from this hash that was short. Other than that, the decisions he made, how we managed the team, the leadership he displayed, the execution that held, he was right on. And from a starting game to say that's where the baseline is, I was really impressed. And the scheme that we were playing against was very well thought out. And so Diaco, the coach at UCONN, is really a strong defensive mind, very similar to our scheme. And we talked about how much fun it would be to get together when we weren't home and home to kind of exchange ideas. He had some really good ideas, the things that weren't easy to move the ball against, but our execution for the first game held, and that was really neat.
So you gave Nick Howell the reins to make the defensive calls. How do you do?
He did a really nice job. And man, I bit my tongue a lot, only from the standpoint of it's just routine and habit. And so I was able to provide feedback here and there, but really just watched, and he did a really nice job. And as the game went, I could see the confidence growing, the rhythm starting to develop with more specificity in the calls matching situation rather than maybe generic or base catch-alls, which was kind of the way we started, to then he started to dial in and saying, this will work against that, I think it's coming. That's confidence.
Whether it was before or after, best moment of the night for you last Friday at UCONN?
Oh, the best moment, right before we left our locker room to take the field for the first time, Harvey Longy, who was injured but on the trip, has a song that he just randomly hits, and the team just starts going crazy in the locker room. I mean, I'm not going to define crazy, but crazy.
Are these songs you know or a little less
I
familiar
had never
with?
heard of them before and couldn't tell you who sang them, what they were even saying, but there's a lot of bass. And the team was just, they were excited to play. And they couldn't wait to go down the ramp and see who they were and where we were. And that was fun. And to be able to actually maybe just move a little bit too without being so consumed about the tactical, that was kind of fun.
Since we're on this for a second, music has become kind of a staple of your team's activities, practices,
love
pregame
music.
Apparently. So is this here to stay?
It's here to stay, and it's actually been a huge part of, if you talk to Holly, what I am passionate about anyway. Right after books, I love music. It's playing all day in the offices behind the scenes, but nobody hears.
I have noticed that occasionally.
Now it's just kind of permeating to the outside world.
Now, there are some, go-tos for you that people kind of know about, things like Jack Johnson. What are the deeper cuts that people might...
So there is a guy by the name of Xavier Rudd. I'm not going to say any more. I'm just going to leave it there.
So we'll be Googling him, iTunesing him,
whatever you want to do, but that's just a glimpse into one of. That could be every week. I could come with
a deeper cut.
Yeah, deeper cut.
Okay,
Broncos
for this week.
Deeper cuts, head coach cuts, what deep cuts.
We'll find something. We'll make it work.
Yeah, I expect you to follow up with a question about that next week.
Okay, I'll come prepared.
Homework.
And
homework.
And I might just I might give you one of my deeper cuts next week. We'll see how this goes.
Like Neil Diamond.
Nah, it's not going to go that direction, I don't think.
That was just a guess.
Yeah, not a great
America?
one. Yeah, no, not so much. So Texas is next up on the agenda, and you'll leave typically Friday, right? You won't go 2 days before. It's just a closer trip. Go Friday, but go early enough maybe to get to the stadium day before.
Possibly either the day before or the morning of a game that's a night game.
So you could actually land. Get there Friday, do a walk through Saturday morning, get back, and then come back for the game at night. Either way, your guys want to get to the stadium before they play. It sounds like.
I want to get to the stadium, and when they're there, it was really fun because they act like they're at recess. They're
running around the field.
They're playing tag.
Taking pictures.
Taking pictures and getting all that. It's college football, which is fun, and it's fun to be able to have that environment. And that would be the second most favorite thing, besides the music we played before we came out of the locker room.
It was the walkthrough.
The walkthrough. So much fun.
It used to be a staple back in the day of BYU football where you go a day before and you get to the
I wouldn't
stadium
even call it a walkthrough. I'd just call it playtime.
Like recess.
Recess.
Exactly right.
I'm going to call it that on our itinerary.
Just to put time for recess at the stadium?
Yep.
When you played at Oregon State, and that was probably something that teams usually did, and then it kind of went away for whatever reason.
Yeah, because it was all tense and just, like soldiers marching out there, and it's a walkthrough. And, I mean, it's fun just to go see where you're going to play, where the action is going to happen, kind of visualize, let guys have their own space and run around, and some took their shoes off, and it was fun.
You've already played a game at that stadium before, 100,000 plus. It's a tremendous venue. A game you probably, could have or should have won a few years ago. You certainly had a chance to, leading in the fourth quarter. A lot of things have happened since then. They've come here and lost big, and they've gone through a coaching staff change, and just this week they lose a quarterback and a center, so there's a whole lot of storylines going into this one on Saturday.
College football.
And what Jamal chooses to say is every game is circled for us. No one's bigger than the other necessarily, but you said something after the game Saturday, post-game show. We said goodbye to you, and you were saying so long to us, and we talked about the Texas game, and you said, I'm really looking forward to it. Pause. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am from the standpoint of, as an independent with so much to prove with this unique landscape of college football changing, these are games that you can't wait to play. Big stage in front of a lot of people, quality opponent on national TV, and we have a good team.
Often you use the phrase brutal facts to talk about things as they really are. And people will look at this game to see, okay, BYU looked pretty good on week 1, and they may look pretty good in week 10, but what are they going to do in Austin against a big, tough Texas team? Yeah,
so a year ago, a lot of people defined the season. I mean, he might not have even been able to say our record, but they saw our game against Texas. So coaches convention, oh man, I saw you guys against Texas. And so a lot of times a game or two or a play or two can define an entire year, regardless of record and regardless of the bowl win. And this year, this just happens to be an intriguing game because of the history and because of all the things you just mentioned, and man, why not? It'd be fun.
If you're going to have a special season, it takes special games to get there, and this could be one of them, right?
And special games on the road that you have to win. That's part of being an independent. So this is exactly the kind of game that we are scheduling. We're scheduling for a long time out, 5, 6, and 7 of them, as many as we can per year. And yeah, this is BYU football right now.
We're early in the week. This will air later in the week, but do you get the sense your guys are ready for this challenge?
We've had a walkthrough. Tonight is Monday night, and I like it. I like where their mindset is, and I like that they're excited to play.
So Texas is on the schedule, but it's not officially Texas game week until you've put the Longhorn logo up on the board.
That's right. By the way, first of all, this game is over. Yeah.
You want to put 35-10 up there?
Yeah, I like that. That's not industrial size chalk. 35-10, and how about that?
Okay.
35-10.
You're done.
And then I kind of like the idea of why don't we just go with.
You got a Bronco Bevo here.
Hey, how about that? That almost looks like the exact decal from their helmet.
Directly from their
feet.
Here it is.
There we go. Got to compress it.